One night, after leaving her waitressing job at Bodega Restaurant, Reagan vanished.
We're also following a case from OSU where a female student has been reported missing. According to the university's statement, they are aware of the missing persons report and direct any questions to Columbus police.
No official word quite yet as to who this body belongs to. Of course, once we learn that information, hopefully today, we will be sure to pass it on to you.
Imagine walking home on a seemingly ordinary evening. The streets quiet, the air crisp. You're lost in thought about the day's events, your future plans, perhaps what you'll have for dinner. It's a routine so familiar, so comforting, that the sheer thought of it being disrupted is unimaginable. Yet, in the blink of an eye, the mundane can turn extraordinary, and not always for the better. This true crime narrative is a chilling reminder of how quickly life can change. Today, we uncover the harrowing tale of Reagan Tokes, a young woman whose night took a turn so dire it shook a community to its core. Join us as we unravel the mystery, piece by piece. First and foremost, who was Reagan Tokes? Reagan Delaney Tokes was born on March 13, 1995 in Edgewood, Kentucky, to parents Toby and Lisa Tokes. The family decided to raise her in Maumee, Ohio, where they had Reagan's younger sister, Makenzie. Since she was a little kid, Reagan was known for her academic excellence and athleticism, graduating high school with a 4.5 GPA and participating in varsity lacrosse and tennis. When it was time for Reagan to go to college, her parents decided to move to Florida along with her little sister. Reagan elected to stay in Ohio since it was her lifelong dream to attend Ohio State University, and she had a legitimate shot at getting in that year. Little to anyone's surprise, Reagan did get into OSU, initially majoring in pre-med before switching to psychology, with aspirations of working at the Cleveland Clinic. Paying her dues in the rigorous collegiate atmosphere was nothing for Reagan.
I remember when it came time to do the college applications and everything, and I said, Greg, don't you think that we need to broaden our horizons and maybe consider some other options? She looked at me and she was like, Mom, this is the school I want, and don't worry, I'm gonna get in.
She even opted to support herself financially by working various jobs part-time, like in a bodega and in a restaurant. She was fond of sharing her daily life working these jobs alongside her studies on social media. As a matter of fact, her last known post online was about picking out a frame for her diploma, as she was set to graduate May 2017. Tokes also planned to attend graduate school, get another degree, and maybe one day open her very own psychology practice. It was the picture-perfect career path for the promising young woman. But as it turned out, fate would have other plans. The unfortunate twist in Reagan's life would manifest in the form of a man named Brian Goldsby. Brian Lee Goldsby was a character much older than Reagan at 29 years old. Unlike the lady in our story, Brian did not have an ordinary and nurturing childhood. He had an abusive mother who was inflicted by drug and alcohol abuse. Brian later claimed that as a child he was also sexually assaulted multiple times, which led him to an unstable state of mind that manifested in juvenile crimes. These crimes included criminal trespassing, various sorts of theft, shoplifting, vandalism, and the cherry on top, threatening his mother with a knife. According to reports, Goldsby had even sexually abused 5-year-old and 6-year-old boys as a member of the Crips gang during his youth. One of the most harrowing crimes that elevated Brian to evil status happened in November of 2010, when he kidnapped an 8-month pregnant mother and her 2-year-old boy. He approached the adult victim from behind and placed a knife to her throat as she was letting her child out of her car. In front of the child, Goldsby sexually assaulted the woman and made her drive him to many ATMs so he could take out cash. After making her drive him home, he once again assaulted her and took her DVD player. He would spend a total of 6 years behind bars. Goldsby committed 52 offenses during his incarceration, including stealing, fighting, possessing contraband, disobeying orders, and causing disturbances. His behavior was so unacceptable that he was transferred to multiple prisons. He ultimately spent his prison term in 5 different facilities. Brian's entire jail time, however, only lasted 5.5 years because the 6 months he had served in jail before the plea agreement was included in his sentence. So in November of 2016, a man this dangerous was out on the streets again, his path intertwining with the promising life of Reagan Tokes. What happened next was so vile it's almost like crime fiction. On the evening of February 8, 2017, Tokes went to work as per usual at Bodega in downtown Columbus, Ohio. The same evening, Goldsby was roaming the area searching for someone to victimize, as he was in dire need of cash at the time. It's important to note that upon release from prison around 3 months prior, Goldsby was mandated to wear a GPS tracking device. The device showed him walking around the OSU campus on the night of February 8, before taking a bus and walking in circles near the same bodega where Reagan worked. In other words, the pattern suggested that Tokes was followed. A few minutes before 10 p.m. of the same night, Tokes ended her shift and walked to her car. It was at his unfortunate juncture that she would encounter the menace that would turn her life around. She ran into him at the parking lot, and almost immediately, she was held at gunpoint. At first, Brian expressed that he would never hurt her because all he wanted was money. He forced Tokes to drive him to 2 ATMs to withdraw money, but the transactions were declined. Frustrated, Goldsby dragged Reagan out of the car in an alley, and GPS indicated they stayed there for 12 minutes. Investigators believe it was here where Tokes was sexually taken advantage of. After the grueling act, Tokes was once again forced to drive, withdraw from other ATMs, and make stopovers at a couple of gas stations. While Brian might have been telling the truth that he had no intention of hurting her initially, the mounting frustration, coupled with fear that Reagan would report him to authorities, made him decide it was smarter to end the young lady's life. Reagan Tokes would go on to plead for her life, screaming and begging that she would do anything to stay alive. First, he asked her to remove all her clothes, including her shoes. Next, he said she should march into the field buck naked and cold. To this day, nobody knows the significance of these sick antics. And with finality in his veins, he shot Reagan Tokes in the head twice. This execution-style gesture ultimately snuffed out what could have been a fruitful career and a colorful life. After the gruesome act, Goldsby tried to set Reagan's car on fire in a desperate attempt to burn evidence, but he failed to do so. At around 1 a.m., GPS reported him at his girlfriend's house, and both of them headed out to a nearby McDonald's, where Brian gave her Reagan's black Kate Spade purse as a gift. Meanwhile, in Florida, Toby Tokes, Reagan's father, was expecting a call from her that night.
I didn't realize she was working. She texted me back. She said, "Dad, I can't talk right now, but I will call you when I leave tonight." Actually frantically trying to get a hold of her that evening until about 2 in the morning.
The morning after the incident, a park-goer discovered Reagan's naked, lifeless body at the park and immediately alerted the authorities. Thanks to solid police work and modern GPS technology, Tokes' car was located in mere hours in the southeast part of Columbus. On the ground next to its rear were cigarette butts with DNA belonging to none other than Brian Goldsby. When SWAT officers arrested Goldsby on February 11 at around 4 a.m., the emotionally charged trial for Reagan Tokes' case, which began on March 5, 2018, was a media spectacle and national frenzy. It was downright sensational with extensive evidence presented, including crime scene tours, witness testimonies, and forensic analysis. Despite the defense's argument of panic-driven actions, Brian Goldsby was convicted on all counts just a week after, a day that should have been Tokes' 23rd birthday. The jury was divided on the sentence, but ultimately decided on a life sentence for Goldsby. Today, the once vibrant woman's life and legacy are celebrated through the Reagan Tokes Memorial Foundation. Initiated by her family after her tragic passing, the foundation was designed to offer scholarships, self-defense training, and support for crime reduction legislation. Reagan was posthumously awarded her degree from the Ohio State University, which was recognized at the graduation ceremony. Memorials at Scioto Grove Metro Park and on the university campus honor her memory, with a tranquility garden and a yellow magnolia tree serving as lasting tributes to her life and spirit. The tragic story of Reagan Tokes serves as a haunting reminder of the unforeseen dangers that can disrupt lives, sparking widespread calls for justice and systemic reform in her memory. Thank you for watching. Drop your thoughts on this chilling story in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more daily true crime stories.